What's going on, you guys? This is your boy RBG, aka the Random Black Gamer, bringing you another video on Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. And I originally had this video unlisted and ready to go last week, but due to things that transpired shortly before I was gonna make it public, I decided to double back around and change a few things. So I'm essentially gonna be gutting my original video and modifying the first half of it, but the second half will be the original form. So yeah, if it sounds like I'm contradicting certain things that I'm saying in this first half, it's because this thing has been modified. And one of the major things that I had to modify was the recent revealing of Dragon Ball GT, and not only just that, but also the leaked characters that we got, which also consist of GT characters as well as some of the movie characters that weren't officially revealed by Bandai NCO and Spike. Yeah, I wanted to change that because it actually played into the topic that I was talking about. And that was mainly in regards to the complaints that fans were having. Because when it comes to Dragon Ball Z video games, right, you're gonna have those fans that are split right down the middle. You're gonna have those fans that are absolutely pleased with what they've been seeing, and you're also gonna have those fans that are downright disappointed, especially when we're getting close to the release date. Like in my original video, I touched on the GT and movie characters because despite their inconsequential nature and lack of continuity to the main timeline of Dragon Ball Z, there's still an audience that wants to see those characters. And I basically said that people should wait to see what we got, which, hey, we've gotten that confirmation that Spike Chunsoft is definitely trying to deliver that experience that we had in the yesteryear of the Tenkaichi series, which is give us everything that was already there. I think that was the thing that people were most concerned about, right? Because GT characters and movie characters, they were in the base forms of the games. But now we have the confirmation that Spike Chunsoft is hell-bent on delivering that same experience that we had in games like Budokai Tenkaichi 2 and Budokai Tenkaichi 3. We're actually getting all those characters and they aren't going to be put behind the paywall. But we'll just have to wait and see how that goes, because this could have just been leaked data. You know, maybe somebody got within the confines of the game before it gets dropped and they were actually going to release those things as DLC, but I strongly believe those guys are going to be featured in the base game. And the point that I was trying to drive home is that you guys should really wait before drawing your conclusion on if a game is going to be bad or not, because we live in this day and age where everybody is just happy to be outraged about something, and they're not willing to wait and allow the developers to actually cook before pulling the game out of the oven. Given how great the marketing has been, Spike Chunsoft has reconfirmed that they are going to be delivering that awesome experience that we got with the Tenkaichi series, and this is definitely going to be the true sequel to Tenkaichi 3, serving as Tenkaichi 4, aka Dragon Ball Sparking. Now with that said, even though we've gotten the confirmation of the GT characters as well as those leaks, we still haven't gotten the full extent of the roster that we had in games like Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3, so this is where I'm going to segue into the original commentary that I did and give you an idea of what I think they should do in regards to going about implementing new characters, especially if they're going to be placed behind a paywall. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into that. Now what I will say is that I hope they roll these characters out in a package that's worth the price of omission, and what I mean by packaging is something similar to that of Xenoverse 2, because what you'll notice about that game is that it's essentially become a games as a service. Yes, the base game is for all intents and purposes an open arena RPG fighter, but it's since evolved, and the way that they bring new things to the table is in the form of these DLCs that not only include the character but also cutscenes and some new stages, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm hoping that Spike Chunsoft follows a similar strategy, because that's the only way I'm gonna pay for these additional things. I can honestly do without the GT characters, but I know that there's an audience for it, and if they're gonna bring those characters in, at least bring in things that are synonymous with those characters, such as story arcs and additional stages. For example, if they're going to bring in characters such as General Rildo, then I want them to have cutscenes featuring his arc, and I also have to bring in the planet M2, things like that that's actually going to make it worth our while and give us a bang for our buck. You know, things of that nature that's actually going to make this feel like a grand affair, a grand tour, if you will. I know that was lame, but anyways, even though I'm not interested in having these characters back, if they are to make a return, then I feel like Spike Chunsoft and Namco Bandai should follow a similar marketing strategy to that of Dimps and the Dragon Ball Xenoverse games. And since we're on the topic of those games, we have to address the big elephant in the room, which is the big comparison to this and that of Xenoverse Xenoverse, which I cannot for the life of me even understand why we're even having this conversation, because people, for whatever reason, they act like since Sparking Zero has hit the scene that it's trying to steal the swag of Xenoverse, which I don't know why I'm even talking about this, right? Because this is so hilarious in and of itself, especially considering the fact that Sparking Zero is using concepts that predate that of the Xenoverse franchise. Come on now, guys. This is kind of the fourth installment in the Sparking series, man. The Tenkaichi series. This is Tenkaichi 4, essentially. So I find it funny that people are even arguing this, which is another example that the Dragon Ball Z community is such a multifaceted one, consisting of people that are somewhat logical and people that are downright delusional. If anything, we should say that it's kind of the reverse. Xenoverse is basically like a more RPG-ified version of the Sparking series, because it takes the 3D battle arena aspect and applies the role-playing elements to it. Some of my longtime subscribers may remember me giving you extensive coverage on Xenoverse, only to stop talking about it completely because I just couldn't get into it. I don't like how the characters move, and I hate the way that some of the blasts kind of bypass the characters that are actually being on the receiving end of it, and I think that's largely accredited to those RPG elements that I mentioned. It just is a different game that people just for whatever reason they try to compare it to the Sparking series. Dragon Ball Sparking, aka Dragon Ball Tenkaichi, is for all intents and purposes a 3D arena fighting game. That's what it is. It's a fighting game. It's not an RPG. I'm not trying to throw jabs at the Xenoverse games because they are good, you know, for what they do, but I just feel like the animations are a lot better in the Tenkaichi games. We also got to talk about that audience that compares Sparking Zero to Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, which is so funny once again because that's a totally different genre there. That's also a game that's specifically tailored to RPG, not to mention that it's a single player game. Single player action RPG game, open world, totally different from what Sparking Zero is offering. Once again, I have to remind you guys, Spike Chunsoft isn't necessarily trying to make this new project. This is something that's trying to recapture the essence of what we loved about the Tenkaichi games, particularly Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. That's a game that's heavily modded till this day and a lot of people still play it. But now it's like they want to revitalize this franchise and bring all these things that have transpired, such as Dragon Ball Super. And I actually love the fact that they've gone above and beyond to not only do that, but also rework the game from the ground up. Yeah, that's right. Unbeknownst to a lot of you ignorant zealots who always say that, oh, they're just repurposing assets, they're using the same character animations, the same movements and models. No, everything has been worked from the ground up. The infrastructure may be the same, but everything else is brand new, from the character movements such as the dashing animations, as well as things like the sonic sway, which is what we've been wanting to see make a return. All those things have been remade from the ground up to feel new, yet similar to what we used to play in the early days. There have been testimonies from high-level Tenkaichi players who have actually had the pleasure of playing this game that have said that yes, it feels like a revamped, brand new version of the Tenkaichi games, and that's a good thing. This is what fans want. But with that said, Spike Chunsoft has also made it a point to take things that didn't quite work from previous installments, even some that are kinda in the same wheelhouse as Sparking, such as the Rage and Blast series. They've basically taken the Sparking element and added something new to it to make it feel very unique. The particle elements look great, and I also appreciate them adding new battle damage looks to the characters, because there have been so many things that were missing from the previous installments, such as the all black Saiyan Under Armor for adolescent Gohan that they never feature in any of the games. Yes, you get a chance to use that in your fight against Deborah. Like, these are just details that I enjoy, man. But anyways, the last thing that I want to address, and this will be the final time I address it, because I've kind of mentioned this briefly in every video that I produced in regards to Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, but I didn't really just speak about it in full length, and that is the variant issue, even if you want to call it that, because I feel like it shouldn't be an issue at this point. Because one thing that you can't say about the Dragon Ball world at large is that these characters haven't evolved in different ways. There have been so many versions of individuals within this series that deserve their own slot, and there are a lot of fans who feel like these characters should not have that. They think in some kind of miraculous way that all the versions of these characters should fit within one model, which is insane. Like, you can't make this stuff up, man. You have people that believe that Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, and even Dragon Ball GT Goku should all be squeezed into one slot/character. And even though I've said this multiple times, it is impossible. What people fail to realize is that characters like Goku, they've gone on to evolve. Each respective era of that character not only comes with a different look, but it also comes with its own unique animations and context-sensitive dialogue. For example, if you notice that Goku early is not only noticeably slimmer than his later counterparts, but he also features the bare minimum of moves from that respective era. Like, the only thing they could do is actually give him moves from his post-Otherworld saga where he trains with King Kai and he gets things like the Kaioken and the Spirit Bomb. And that's all he needs, because one thing that I will say that people don't take into consideration is the story mode aspect. I want to have a Goku that properly represents each respective saga that he's featured in. Not a Super Saiyan 1 Goku from the Namek saga that has lines in his hair when his hair is supposed to be fluffy, which CyberConnect 2 failed to get right in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot for whatever reason. I'm just saying. Those details actually matter, along with the other details such as the animations that are associated with those respective eras. Is it annoying that Goku has the most variations, especially in games like Fighters? Yeah, but at least Sparking Zero is making it a point to feature these characters in their respective era with their transformations and animations, and top of that onto the fact that you actually have the option to select a transformation to start off with, as opposed to transforming into that transformation mid-game. As beautiful and properly executed as Dragon Ball FighterZ is, let's not act like it didn't have its flaws too when it came to the aspect of transformation, because the reason why it had a lot of Gokus in the first place is because they didn't simply allow you to transform into characters mid-battle. Some forms could only be accessed by way of a Super or Ultimate, or you had to just pick them right at the select screen, which is why there were so many of those versions of Goku in the first place. But in Sparking Zero, it works a lot better and it makes more sense considering the context of each respective era of Goku and other characters such as Vegeta, who fans also seem to have a problem with in regards to how many variants he has. Whether you like it or not, those characters deserve variants, and this is something that can't be supplemented because we also have to take into account the kid variants of these characters. Another character that has a lot of variants would be that of Trunks. As we know, he has his future variants and he also has his armored/super variants where he gets extremely buff. Now, could some of his variants be simplified to just one character slot? Yeah, I feel like they could add in some of his sword-based attacks along with his super variant where he aesthetically changes to a buff character, especially given the fact that Super Trunks doesn't necessarily boast a lot of moves in his arsenal. But hey, it is what it is. You still have to take into account that he has the Super, Dragon Ball Super that is, version of the character from the Goku Black saga that has its own fair share of new moves. Not to mention that you can't squeeze a pint-sized version of Trunks, aka kid version Trunks, into his adult form. The same can be said for Gohan, who has his own kid version of the character, as well as an adolescent and an adult form, which I'm pretty sure they're going to introduce in the form of Dragon Ball Super Gohan, because that version of the character has seen his fair share of development, and it would be a shame if we don't get Beast Form Gohan from Dragon Ball Super Superhero. If they did try to squeeze all of these different characters into one slot, it could lead to a multitude of issues, some of which we've had in past games such as Dragon Ball Z Budokai. I think that's one of the best examples to give this, because a lot of people used to always wonder why characters such as Perfect Cell would still sound like Imperfect Cell even though the characters are supposed to sound entirely different, right? And that's mainly due to all of these things just being sewn into one character model and having to stick to one audio source. Yes, that was a thing, and if you were wondering why, it's because of that very reason. Now with that said, I do kind of find it funny that the super perfect version of Cell is going to have his own character slot as opposed to being stitched in with the other version of the perfect Cell. But in all honesty, I think that's largely accredited to all the new things they're going to implement into that particular variant of that character. So yeah, I just wanted to just give this video because it's been a while since I've dropped a Dragon Ball Sparking Zero video, not to mention that a lot has happened. There have been a lot of idiots making videos on claims that they have no idea what they're talking about in regards to this game, comparing it to other titles such as Xenoverse 2 and Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, which are totally different projects, man. I think people just need to cool it, because one thing that I love about Dragon Ball Z is the fact that it's not like the yesteryear where we had to wait each year to get a Dragon Ball Z game that we wanted to enjoy. No, they have so many different varieties and options available for us now, some of which have been released years back and are still receiving updates to this day. Like I said, Xenoverse 2, it still has its audience there, and it's become one of the best-selling Dragon Ball Z games because of its online support and community at large. So yeah, just chill your jets, man. If you don't want to play the game, then don't play it. Just play something else. Play Xenoverse if you feel like that's a superior title. But don't sit here and complain like, oh, this game is going to be DOA, they're not doing things that they should be doing. Just wait and see how that rollout is going to be. But anyways, guys, I want to know what you think about all these things. Do you agree with the assessment that they should reduce the slots of variants? Or do you feel like the variants are worth it? And also, what do you think about all these different comparisons in regards to other Dragon Ball Z titles? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, I'd appreciate it if you liked or disliked this video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down if you want. But if you really enjoyed this video, it would help your boy out tremendously if you shared it with all your friends and followers on all the different social media platforms. Sharing really makes a difference. But once again, this is your boy RBG, aka the Random Black Gamer, signing out on another video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.